Hello everyone. So welcome back all of you. So today in this special live class, what are we going to do? We are going to discuss some important MCQ for the subject sociology. Okay, so let's start. Okay, the first question is, according to theory of demographic transition, Indian population growth falls under which of the following categories? So very tricky question. Okay, now I assume all of you understand the concept of demographic transition, and for those who do not understand what is the theory of demographic transition, let me remind you that according to theory of demographic transition, there are three phases of population growth. Okay, three phases of population growth. The first phase is usually the primitive phase. Okay, the primitive phase. So this phase is actually characterized by a very low growth rate of population. Okay, low growth rate of population. And why there is low growth rate? Because the society is primitive and there is not much technological development which can provide good healthcare and education to its people. Okay, so we can say it is pretty underdeveloped. So this is an underdeveloped society. So it has a very primitive low growth rate of population. Why? Because the society is underdeveloped to provide technological support, to provide access to education or access to better healthcare. And then we come to the next stage. The next stage is the what? We have the transition phase. Now, what is the transition phase saying? The transition phase is actually the middle part between the primitive and the evolved stage. Okay, it is the middle part. Now you see, what is the transition phase saying? The transition is characterized by high growth rate of population. Okay, high growth rate. Why there is a high growth rate? Because these kind of societies are evolving. Okay, they are evolving and they are traveling from an underdeveloped to a developed phase. And when they are traveling from an underdeveloped to a developed phase, what is happening? There is excess of technology to provide better healthcare and services to its population. Okay, so it is in a transition phase. It is transitioning from an underdeveloped position to a developed position. And the final one is what? The final one is characterized by again low growth rate of population. Why there is low growth rate of population in an evolved state? Because now there is a technology to provide what? There is controlled growth rate of population. Okay, the growth rate of population is controlled by new technology. Now they have a grip over the growth of population. So from here we can understand what the question is actually asking. The question is asking Indian population growth falls under which of the following categories. So we know that Indian population is characterized by very high growth rate of population because we are in what? We are in the transition stage, because our society is evolving from a primitive to an evolved state. Okay, now our society has the technological development to provide better healthcare and services to its population, and that is the reason why India is characterized by high growth rate of population. And slowly when India will transit from a transition stage to a developed stage, then again India will have low growth rate of population, because then our population growth rate will be controlled by some technological measures. Okay, I hope you understood the question and you got your answer. Let's move on to question number 2. Now see what the question number 2 is asking. Which of the following survey falls under formal demographic structure? So those of you who understand the word formal demographic structure, you will know that formal demographic structure basically says something which can be quantified, okay, which can be expressed in numbers or units or in some mathematical calculations. So now, which of the following survey falls under formal demographic structure? That is, which of the following survey can be quantified? Okay, now survey regarding to migration of population, survey regarding intercaste marriage, or working population, or all of the above. So if we go by option number A and B, we will see that what? That the first is given, option number A is given, the migration. Now, even if we can quantify the number of migration from rural to urban, we cannot quantify why the migration has happened. Okay, there may be a number of factors responsible for migration. Okay, since we cannot quantify this particular objective called y, that is the reason why migration cannot fall under formal demographic structure. So this is wrong. Since A is wrong, so this one is wrong, and both A and B, this one is also wrong, because here the option is A. Now let's see to the third option, option number C, working population in a city. Okay, now the third option is giving working population in a city. Let's say working population. Now, can you quantify this? Obviously, we can quantify this, because what we can find here is the number of workers in a city, let's say, okay, number of workers in a city, or number of workers in a factory, let's say, okay, number of male workers, number of female workers. Okay, so this is the kind of quantity, this is the kind of expression or a statement which we can quantify it. Okay, we can quantify the number of working population. Okay, so since formal demography is associated with the particular term called quantity, therefore since we know that working population can be expressed in terms of a quantity, in a terms of quantifiable manner, therefore we can say that working population is the correct one. So your option C will be correct. Okay, now why I have cancelled option B? Because see, in this option both A and B is given. Since A is wrong, so both A and B cannot be correct. Okay, so from here you can say is that B is also wrong. Now you see so let me explain this why B is wrong. Because for intercaste marriage, what happens? You cannot quantify the intercaste marriage, okay, because you can only see that how many intercaste marriages have taken place in a particular state or in a particular village, but you cannot quantify why intercaste marriages are happening. There may be a lot of factors. Okay, so since in this case also the term y cannot be expressed in a quantity, that is the reason why intercaste marriage and migration cannot be a formal demographic structure. So I hope this is clear. Identify the correct example of positive check of growth rate of a population in a society. Now what is positive check of a growth rate of a population? So I believe all of you have studied Malthus theory of population growth. So what he was saying that the population grows in a geometric progression. In a geometric progression means, let's say 2 to 4, then you can say 4 to is 8. Okay, the population is growing at this rate. But what agricultural production is doing? Agricultural production is growing at a arithmetic phase. Let's say 2 plus 2 is 4, then 4 plus 2 is 6. So this is the progression of agriculture development, and this is the progression of population. So Malthus was saying, since the population growth rate is growing by a geometric number, therefore at one point of time the growth rate of population will overcome the agricultural production, and humanity will forever live in poverty. So it is very important to have a positive check of growth rate of a population in a society. So what is a positive check? A positive check is something which is done by nature. So from out of all these, which one is done by nature? You can see death by coronavirus or death by old age. But since positive check, we cannot see death by old age. Why? We cannot say this is right, because this is actually cannot be said as a control of the growth rate of population in a society, because it does not affect much. What will affect? Death by coronavirus. So if you say death by coronavirus is a positive check of growth rate of population, it is true. So your correct option will be only B. Okay, so he is saying that some natural causes like floods, earthquake, okay, tsunami, then coronavirus or any kind of diseases or plagues, all these things are a positive check on the growth rate of a population. But abortion of a fetus or cancellation of marriage, all these are preventive checks. Okay. Now question number 4. In the year 2020, average Indian was 29 years old compared to an average Chinese who was 37 years old. This statement implies which of the following facts? Now let's read the option first. Option B, India has younger generation compared to China. So first option is saying, option number B is saying India has younger generation compared to China. So if you have read the particular theory called demographic dividend, okay, demographic dividend. So the theory of demographic dividend says that the population is expressed in the form of a pyramid. Okay, but the pyramid is like this because at this cone is the younger age, you know, newborn, and here it is the old ones, and in the middle it is actually represented by the most productive. They are the most productive population, most productive. Okay, now the demographic dividend here it is saying that average Indian is 29 years old compared to an average Chinese who is 37 years old. So this statement implies which of the following facts? So first option, option number B, saying India has younger generation compared to China. Is it true? Yes, definitely it is true. So option B is true. Okay, next option it is saying, let's check all the options, then saying only A and B. Let's see, we have seen that B is okay. Now let's check option number A. India has more growing labor force compared to China. Yes, because the demographic dividend theory, what it says, okay, as there will be more number of younger population, okay, as there will be more number of younger population in a country, that younger population will be calculated as a labor force. Okay, it will be converted into a working force for that particular country. You can say manpower. So yes, definitely if India has more number of younger generation compared to China, that India will have growing labor force. So this one is also true. Only A and B is also true. Now say option number C, only A, B and D. So let's say A we have seen is correct, B also we have seen is correct. Let's say if D is also correct. India has low dependency ratio compared to China. Low dependency ratio means, see, according to demographic dividend, what it says, as there will be more younger generation of population compared to a older generation of population. So younger generation of population will not require services like, you know, old age homes. They will not be required to look after. But if you have growing number of old age people, then the government has to provide more pensions, it has to look for old age homes, it has to provide more services to the old age people. So if you have more number of young generations, then a country will have low dependency ratio. So India has low dependency ratio. This is also correct. So we have seen A, B and D is also correct. Now the last option is saying all of the above. So we have seen A is correct, B is correct, D also correct. Let's see if number C also corresponds. Number C is saying India's replacement level of a population is higher than China. Now what do you mean by replacement level? You see, okay, let's see old age people. Let's take this example, old age people. Old age people are dying by the number 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, by 111 number they are dying. And newborns are what? Let's say newborns. So newborns are being born at what rate? Let's say newborns are being born at the rate of 2, 4, 6, 8 like this. So you see the newborn, their ratio is more compared, their proportion is more compared to the old age. So what is particular statement is saying? Say if you have more number of newborns relative to the population of the old age, then what you will get is, you will get more good number of replacement level. So from this statement we found out that India's replacement level of population is also higher than China, because India has more number of younger population. And why India has more number of younger population? Because India has more number of newborns compared to the old ones, okay, those who have died. Okay, so now we have seen that A, B, D and C has all corresponded, so we can say that all of the above option is correct. Now let's move on to question number 5. According to 2011 census, sex ratio in India stands at, so what do you mean by sex ratio? Number of females per 1000 males, okay, per 1000 males. So sex ratio in India stands at 940 females per 1000 males, okay. Now let's move on. Question number 6. Which of the following scheme is introduced to increase child sex ratio in India? This is a very easy question. So a lot of you must have come up with a lot of newspaper clippings and lot of current affairs where you will find this particular scheme called Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao. So Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao by its name itself says that this scheme is introduced to increase child sex ratio in India. Now what do you mean by child sex ratio? Child sex ratio is the number of females, okay, babies, female babies born compared to what? Compared to male babies, okay, male babies. So that is per female babies born per male babies, that is per female babies born per how much? 1000 male babies, okay. This one we take in the age group of 0 to 6 years. So child sex ratio is taken in the age group of 0 to 6 years. So per female babies per 1000 male babies, okay, number of female babies per 1000 male babies. So this is the child sex ratio in India. So in order to increase the number of child sex ratio in India, the scheme is Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao. Which of the following Indian state has the highest child sex ratio? See, again we have come to the same question, child sex ratio. So I have just explained it, the child sex ratio is number of female babies born per 1000 male babies. So this is calculated for the age group of 0 to 6 years of children. So which of the following Indian state has highest child sex ratio? See, Himachal Pradesh, Maharashtra, Meghalaya and Sikkim. So out of these, C and D looks very prominent, because usually in northeast states there is the number of sex ratio is relatively good compared to the other states of India. So out of this, the correct answer is Sikkim, okay. The correct answer is Sikkim, because Sikkim has the highest child sex ratio all over India, okay. So why do you think the child sex ratio is very low in India? Because Indian culture, what it promotes, it's basically Indian society basically promotes what? They give preference for the male child, and that is the reason why in many northern parts of the country, people, since they abort their fetuses if that is a girl, okay, that is why sex determination test is prohibited, okay. Now child sex ratio we have done. Now question number 8 is there. As many as 6 states have child sex ratio of under 900 females per 1000 males. So is this number very much okay? See, 900 females per 1000 males. So the assertion is saying that most of the states in India, that is as many as 6 states in India, have child sex ratio of under 900. That is not above 900, under 900 females per 1000 males. So now this is the assertion. Now this is the assertion. I have always told you, when you get these kind of questions, what you need to do is you always need to ask a question why or how. Okay, when you ask this question why or how, For that you always have a reason. Now we see why as many as 6 states have a ratio of under 900 females per 1000 males. The reason here is given. See, access to nutrition, general education and good medical infrastructure is not available to many women in Indian society. So see, access to nutrition, that is they do not get proper nutrition after before or after childbirth, okay, and then they do not have general education. They do not know what is the implication of not having, of aborting a female child, okay, and then they do not have good medical infrastructure also, okay. A lot of women, they die during their pregnancy also because they do not have a good medical infrastructure, so that which can support their medical health, okay. Now you see, assertion we have given why and how, and the reason here is given that a lot of Indian women do not have good medical infrastructure, they do not have access to nutrition and general education. So now you have to see, is this reason complementing what the question is asking? Is this reason giving the appropriate response to the question asked in the assertion? The question is not asked in the assertion, but we have to ask a question as to why or how, okay. So to our question, actually the reason has to complement. So now we see that the reason is actually complementing the question why or how. So in this case, what you have to do, your correct answer is always both A and R are correct, but R is not the correct explanation, no. Then what will be your answer? A and R are correct, but R is the correct explanation of A, okay. And also I want you to remember that sometimes what they do is, in the assertion also they will give a very wrong information, okay. Let's say this one is correct for now, this one is correct as of now, but sometimes what they do is they will change the number. Let's say in your question what came as many as, let's say 10 states. The question is given like this. So in this case what will happen, your assertion will be wrong, because not many as 10 states but only as many as 6 states, okay. So sometimes what they do, they make the assertion wrong, okay. So you also have to remember this. So when they make the assertion wrong, in that case what you have to do is only A is false but R is true. So like this also you have to see. These are very tricky questions. So in order to solve all these, you have to read the book, you have to read every details very thoroughly. Question number 9. India began conducting regular periodical census from which year? Now you see, the question is asking about periodical census, okay. So what happened? India began conducting its first census from the year 1870s itself, okay, because the colonial government, what they did in order to understand Indian society, because Indian society was very much alien to them, they could not understand the dimensions of Indian society, they could not understand the institutions like caste, class and everything, okay. So that is the reason why they conducted the census. But the question is asking about periodical census. Periodical itself means on a regular basis, let's say the 10 years period of time. So for the first time, for 10-year basis, for a period of 10 years, the periodical census was conducted in the year 1881. So in this type of questions, you have to be very careful when you read the question. If the question was not asking about period, then your answer would have been the option A, 1871. But now the question is asking about periodical, that is after every 10 years. So in this case, your answer will be 1881, option number B, okay. Now let's come to the last question. Which of the following cannot be considered as an act of socialization? Let's read the option. Greeting elders and teachers in a school, playing with a Barbie girl toy by a 4-year-old girl, learning to drive a car, or mothers cooking food for the family. So by the term socialization, what do we understand? So socialization, the term explains that it is a method or it is a social way in which we participate in any kind of social activity through which we learn the norms and the regulations of a society. Now let's say greeting elders and teachers. All of us are taught we have to greet our elders and teachers in our school. Okay, this is a kind of behavior which is expected of us from a society. Since this is a behavior which is expected of us and it is taught to us so that we live in a society very harmoniously, so this can be considered as an act of socialization. So when you are taught to greet your elders and teachers in a school, in the future also this kind of habit goes on, and this is how the relationship between the younger generation and the older generation develops. Now the next one is playing with a Barbie girl toy by a 4-year-old girl. So you see, if you are born a girl, then in order to learn the social etiquette of being a girl, what are the you can see the examples of being a girl is you have to have a long hair, okay, you have to wear very covered dresses. So all these kind of things are taught to us if we are born as a girl. But if we are born as a boy, then what will our father teach us? Our father will teach us to maintain our finances, or maybe he will teach us to go to market, okay, how to bargain. So all these things are taught to us depending upon our gender. Okay, so this one is a socialization act, and this activity also pertains to our gender. Okay, it pertains to our gender because a girl will be given a Barbie doll to play, or a boy will be given some let's say a Ben 10 toy to play. So this particular activity corresponds to our gender. Now the third option is learning to drive a car. So you see, irrespective of your gender, irrespective of your caste, or irrespective of your class, you learn to drive the same way. Okay, a girl will not learn to drive in a different way than a boy. A girl will not drive a different way than a boy will do. Everybody will drive a car as it is supposed to be driven. Okay, so learning to drive a car does not consider your gender, your caste, your creed, or whatever. So this particular activity cannot be called as an act of socialization. Why? Because this one does not take into consideration all other social institutions like gender, family, caste, class, or creed. So irrespective of your gender, caste, or class, you are learned to drive the car same way as the other people do, right? And then mothers cooking food for the family is also a act of socialization. So I hope the session had made you clear about the possible type of MCQs that you will be expecting in your upcoming CUET. So I hope you like this session, and if you want more session like this, please comment down below and like our channel, and please subscribe to our channel. Till then, take care, keep preparing. Best of luck. Bye bye.